What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to episode 102 of the Be Great podcast. Round one of the college football playoff in the books. We had 4 football games. We really had 2 football games, if we're being honest. We're going to go over the 2 important ones. The other 2 are completely irrelevant because it went exactly how everyone thought they would go. And yes, I never want to see the group of 5 in the playoff again, period. They should have their own playoff. That is my opinion. They do not need to ever be looked at like they are on the same level of the Power 4 teams. They need to be looked at as exactly what they are. A league that helps develop players so that they can then get picked up by these Power 4 teams. And that is my opinion, and I'm going to stand on that. Now, as far as the other 2 games were concerned, I got one of the picks right, one of the picks wrong. We'll start off with Alabama-Oklahoma. I got that one right. I just had a feeling Alabama was going to come out and win that football game. Look, there's a lot of things I still do not like about this Alabama team. I still don't love their rushing attack. Their leading rusher was Daniel Hill, 9 carries for 43 yards and a touchdown, which is fine, but, I mean, it's nothing special. The story of this game was really Oklahoma just collapsing. The defense just collapsed in the second half. Well, really, it collapsed in the second quarter, and then from then on, it just didn't get any better for Oklahoma's defense. And the offense wasn't much help at all. John Mateer continues to be inconsistent. And we're not talking about game-to-game inconsistent. We're talking about quarter-to-quarter. Heck, maybe even offensive possession inconsistent. I mean, this Oklahoma team comes out to a blazing fast start, 17-0. And at that point, you think, oh, Alabama's dead. Alabama's dead. And then Alabama is able to tie it up before halftime. They tie it up in one quarter. And then from that point, it was just over. From that point on, it was just over. Alabama took control of the game. Ty Simpson was back to his old self. He had a really good game, especially second quarter and on. And you could tell that Alabama team kind of just figured out, like, look, if we don't change something right here, right now, we're going to get blown out, and this is going to be an absolute embarrassment. And, the offensive line started blocking better. Ty Simpson wasn't running for his life. They found a small semblance of a run game, which then allowed Ty Simpson to not have to be Superman, and they still relied on Ty Simpson, but not to the point where he had to do everything. Alabama's defense played really well in that second half. And look, when I see a stat line and I see that a quarterback had to throw the football over 35 times, I typically do not like that. And you look at this game, Ty Simpson only threw 29 times, while John Mateer threw 41 times, because Oklahoma could not run the ball. Oklahoma and Alabama are actually very similar teams. Both teams have struggled to run the ball all season. Offensive line, very up and down. I think Ty Simpson has played better than John Mateer overall this season. I think Alabama has more weapons on the offensive side of the football. Although I will say Deion Burks is very impressive. And defensively, I would say Oklahoma is better, but Alabama is no slouch defensively. They are very good defensively. So they're very similar teams. I just think Alabama's more talented, and that finally showed itself in this playoff game. Now, Miami, Texas A&M happened, and I don't know how I feel about it. I honestly don't. you watch this game, and I watched a half of it while at Chili's. And I came away saying to myself, man, if these offenses are going to look like this the rest of the playoffs, I don't care who wins this game. They're not winning the national championship. Because, and I've said the same thing with Ohio State. When Ohio State played Texas, when Ohio State played Indiana, I said, if this Ohio State offense cannot score more than 10 to 14 points against a good defense, they're not winning a national championship. Now, that doesn't mean they can't figure it out. Maybe they come out against Miami, who has a very good defensive front, and maybe they drop a 30 bomb on Miami. That's very possible. They have the talent to do it. But I just think you will not be able to consistently in the playoffs for a 3-game stretch hold teams to 10 points, to 14 points. There's going to be a team that's going to score 20 on you. It's going to happen. Unless you just have an all-world defense, which I don't think any of these teams have. Respectfully. Carson Beck has got to play better than he did against Texas A&M. I mean, it was typical Carson Beck minus the interceptions. He threw 20 times, barely threw for over 100 yards, had 1 touchdown. And again, what did I just say when it came to Ty Simpson and John Mateer? I don't want to see a quarterback throwing more than 35 times. Marcel Reed, 39 attempts. And look at that, they lost. Because guess what? Marcel Reed threw 2 interceptions. And it should tell you how bad Carson played. Marcel Reed didn't throw for a touchdown and threw 2 picks and still barely had a worse QBR than Carson Beck. But the difference was that Miami could run the football. And when you get into the playoffs, the teams that can run the ball most effectively are your most dangerous teams. Mark Fletcher Jr., 17 carries, 172 yards. He was averaging 10 yards a carry. 10 yards a carry. Meanwhile, Texas A&M, guess who their leading rusher was? Marcel Reed with 27. That can't happen. That cannot happen in a playoff game as big as this if you want to actually make some noise. And look, we've seen signs of this from this Texas A&M team. Okay? We definitely saw it against South Carolina. Everyone wants to talk about, oh my gosh, the comeback in the second half was amazing. And yet we completely ignore the fact that they even had to come back against a bad South Carolina team at home. The game against Texas, when Marcel Reed has been in his biggest games, he has come up short every single time. Every single time. Because the reality is, Marcel Reed is not a superstar quarterback. He's just not. He's solid, but he's nothing special. I'm going to be honest. He's nothing special. And you saw it in this game. He was bad. Bad. And he was bad against Texas. He was awful in the first half against South Carolina. And this is what you get. And Miami's defensive front dominated the line of scrimmage. And it was wraps. It was wraps. And Oregon dominated James Madison. No, I do not care that JMU covered because they played against backups. I do not care. Oregon dominated them. Ole Miss beat the brakes off of Tulane. Oh, it's almost like we've seen that happen already. Because we did. And we have our second round matchup set. I think Ohio State, Miami is the first one we get on a Friday next week. That one, I think, is going to be very interesting. I think if Miami can keep it close, they have a chance. I think if Ohio State can get a solid 2-touchdown lead on this Miami team, I don't think Miami has a shot in hell of coming back and winning that game. But if Miami is able to just stay in it for 4 quarters, they'll have a shot. They'll have a shot. I don't think there's a chance they're able to run the ball as well as they ran the ball against Texas A&M against Ohio State. Ohio State has a much better defense than Texas A&M has. Carson Beck, obviously, he's got to play better. Got to. He can't do much more of this barely over 100 yards passing nonsense if Miami is going to make it any farther. And also, I just don't like Miami's chances going up against an Ohio State team that's had a while to prepare. Coming off a loss, by the way. And that's why I had Ohio State going into the semifinal, to face Georgia. And yes, I do still think Georgia is going to beat Ole Miss. I do not care that Ole Miss beat the brakes off of Tulane. Congratulations. Do you want a cookie? I mean, come on now. Georgia's the real test for Pete Golding and this Ole Miss team. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. That'll be the last of the quarterfinal games played at 8 o'clock at night. Love that. Oregon, Texas Tech. That one, I think Oregon, Texas Tech is the one where I'm like, man, I think that's the biggest coin flip, in my opinion. Like, I could really see either team winning that game. I could totally see Texas Tech winning. I could totally see Oregon winning. I ended up picking Oregon because I believe in the coach more. I just think the team is overall more talented than Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech is a year or two away. But I could see Texas Tech winning. Arizona State almost beat Texas in the quarterfinal last year, if we remember. Arizona State should have beat Texas in the quarterfinal last year, if we're being honest. And Alabama, Indiana. Now, I'm going to say this. I think there is 100% upset potential in that Alabama-Indiana game. 100%. Alabama is a team that you just don't want to play. You see them and you're like, oh, will we beat them? Probably. Are we more talented than them? Yes, but it's just Alabama and they're just so annoying and obnoxious to play. It would not shock me if Alabama upset Indiana. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but it wouldn't shock me in the slightest. It'd be such an Alabama thing to do, would it not? I mean, it would be the most Alabama thing to do ever, is to beat Indiana. I mean, goodness. And at that point, anything can happen. Anything can happen. I will not be having an episode out next week. I will be just in the Christmas flow and the New Year's flow, and my wife's birthday is next week as well. So I'm just going to be a busy man. A busy man. So, the next time you hear me will be right after the quarterfinal games are played. I might be depressed if Georgia somehow loses to Ole Miss, or I might be jovial. We'll see. We shall see. I know this was a shorter episode. It's been a crazy week. And yeah, we'll have another episode in 2 weeks' time. I hope everyone has an amazing Christmas, an amazing New Year's. I will see y'all in 2026. I hope y'all were great in 2025. And I hope in 2026, the mindset you have going into it is to be great.